Okay, so I hope you see it. Um, yes, I will speak about GAIA's experience with ESC teams and how we came here. So our organization is part of Service Civil International, and we mainly work on environmental issues present in Kosovo. And we do that through volunteering and non-formal education activities, also through permaculture education and advocacy. So we are combining a lot of work within the organization. I wanted to mention this SEI. We are a branch of it, and it started right after the First World War. Uh, it is like one of the oldest volunteering organizations in the world, and already in 1920, they started with volunteering camps where they were rebuilding places that were destroyed, and they were always doing that with international support of volunteers. So we have that experience also that follows us from the beginning of GAIA. Our organization exists for 16 years, and we were always involved with volunteering activities. And since 2021, we are organizing ESC teams. Before that, we were involved also in EVS group activities and with SCI camps. But since then, we organized 12 ESC teams, so since 2021. And they were mainly based where our organization works. So during this period, when we are hosting, we are having a group of people that are supporting the teams, and we host between 7 and 16 volunteers. So we usually do that with partners from European Union who are supporting us in having the project in our place. So we were already mentioning why these ESC teams are important, and for us, it really brings us like big actions in the place, and we can have impact on the local community. And it also provides us like with meaningful activities in the place. Here are some examples of what we were doing in the last few years. And oh, just a second. Apologies. So every year we're doing activities, and we were having like groups that were building together, learning, helping us create educational elements, and classroom organizing activities with local community, and who were generally supporting all of our activities around the place. So besides working on the property where we generally are involved in, we also work with the locals, and we did like some structures in the community, in the village neighboring ours. So yes, through the many years of working with volunteers, we experienced quite some challenges, and many of them are connected to like not being prepared properly and having like some kind of this like. Oh, just a second. I need a moment. I apologize. Okay. So we were already discussing like different challenges that organizations can face. And in our experience, these things happen, and it's not something that we should be stressed about. And we can have experiences that can be challenging in our projects, but this is something that we should just be aware of. And we have faced in the last 4+ years challenges that were some of them were minor, some of them are bigger, but in general, they were all possible to overcome. So it's not something to be stressed about. Our main challenges were coming from local context, and sometimes volunteers would not really understand the local context, and they would have difficulties with adaptation to the place. So sometimes they would have different worldviews, or there are some cultural patterns between different cultures that could maybe also bring differences and misunderstandings. We also had volunteers that were showing some yeah, like some challenges with use of substances. For instance, alcohol is the most notable in this case, and this would bring challenges to the activity itself. Then being aware of volunteers' issues and some kind of health issues in advance is super important, because we had volunteers who faced physical disabilities, but they didn't mention that. So it was difficult to adapt to the context, and we had to adapt the venue a little bit and the activities so that they can still take part in it. And also we had volunteers that were kind of hiding their mental health issues, so we had to introduce additional additional mentoring to them and support, so that they can actually be integrated into the program as everyone else. Then we also faced some conflicts. So it is possible that it happens between volunteers, as both Anna and Matea were mentioning. They come with different worldviews and different challenges sometimes. So they might not fit with each other, and they might experience some clash among themselves. But it's also possible that volunteers and coordinators, or the team that is hosting them, has difficulties in communication, and that some conflicts arise. We also had this issue of having volunteering teams with partners who would then limit, for instance, the countries that can join, and we would always have standing organizations involved, which on one side is very beneficial, because then volunteers come more prepared. But in some cases, it is a fully open call, and there is no need for standing organizations. So in those cases, it can be challenging for volunteers to adapt to the situation. And if they're not properly prepared, it can also bring some difficulties to them. But we will speak about solutions later. There are many things we can do in that case. And when it comes to also participants joining, in some cases, we had many cancellations. And I think this brings issues for not just ESC teams, but for all kinds of projects lately. More and more activities have cancellations, especially last minutes. And then that makes quite a challenge for the project itself. Also, what is possible is that some volunteers simply don't fit the project, and they don't feel they don't feel like they want to finish it until the end, which is a very rare occasion. But in some cases, that can also happen. And in that case, it's possible that either the organization, with the organization, the volunteer decides to terminate the project. That can again create some challenges, especially in the past when it was needed that at least 10 volunteers are joining. It could also be a issue of eligibility, for instance. But in most cases, it is good to just discuss this and have a clear communication so that people can deal with it. And also, when it comes to challenges, in some cases we had this use of free time as an issue, because volunteers would have free days during their activities, and sometimes they would go to a different place and leave the venue. And in those days, they could either get into some uncomfortable situations if they don't know the local context, or they could get hurt, or they could also do something that's not very appropriate for the place, just because they don't know. And sometimes in their free times, they could also get more exhausted than rested. So that would mean that when they're back in the project and the schedule, we would need to adapt so that they are more rested for the actual work. And of course, it's never possible to account for that, but some medical issues can also appear. We had situations where in some cases, volunteers got hurt, or they would need to seek medical assistance throughout the night, or during work. So in that case, we just have to be ready for that. And these are quite a lot of challenges that I listed, but I wanted to say that this is not a discouragement of any kind. It's just very good to be aware that these things happen. And in most cases, never these things happen all at the same time. So it's like throughout years that we had different cases, and it's just very important to be ready that this happens and to be prepared on how to deal with that. So when it comes to solutions for all of these problems, like it's very important to be honest and accurate about what is actually happening in your program so that volunteers who are applying know about it. And it's also good to be aware for your organization, what is your ability to host people that need additional support, especially when it comes to accessibility. Like in some cases, maybe an organization would like to be um, able to host volunteers with physical disabilities, but if the venue is not appropriate, then you have to be clear with yourself and the project description that this is not possible. Then organizations that are involved as partners, so those that are lead for the ESC team, hosts, and any other sending organization involved should communicate in time and work really as a team to deal with all the issues and difficulties that might arise. And it's good to have prepared support mechanisms, like how the mentoring will be going, how to work with the program and the logistics, and any other thing that might occur. So just to be able to reach out to each other whenever it's needed. Also, preparation requires quite a lot of time. Like the colleagues were also mentioning, it is quite crucial to know. And through experience, you learn for the next years how to improve everything. So to have the program, venue, and everything you need ready is really, really important. And also to have like more than 1, 2, 3 people that are involved, because the more you are, the more you can like cover potential challenges and support each other and the volunteers. So also when it comes to preparation, it is really good to know how the insurance scheme works, because it's not always clear to organizations and volunteers what is the best solution in your local area and where to like go if you need medical assistance or something else, and to discuss risks that might happen, because being ready for them is much better than not being sure what are the risks. If you're ready for them, you can know how to deal with them, and there is a chance that they don't happen, but you still have a plan. So that's always recommended. And also when the activities happen, the first days should really be dedicated a lot to introductions and making sure that the volunteers understand the local context and what they will be doing and how things function, so, so that they don't feel lost at the place, and that they really integrate properly and that everybody is included in the group. And then also having like emergency contacts and addresses where you can go in case anything happens. It's a must. And also what helps is having daily checkups with the team, also from the hosting organization and with the volunteers, so that you can apply any measures that might be needed. So yeah, quite some things that one has to be aware of, but it also comes with experience that you can see and understand better potential risks. So also as coordinators, if you see something that could be potentially risky, it's very good to stop it, even if you are not sure how the volunteer will maybe react to it. It's better to prevent any risk than allowing it to happen. And through the last few years, what we learned is that each activity brings new learning. I think every organization that hosts teams can can understand that, and that it's really important to be able to respond to change and to adapt, because some changes will always happen. No matter how much we prepare and plan for an activity, some things just come up and cannot be like known from before. And also having these measures for risks and good communication with partners, but also having not just plan, but also plan B, and the ideas of what you can do if something new and different arises. whether it's weather or how some people are, how some volunteers are fitting into the group, it's always good to have additional plans and be aware of your capacity and red lines. In our case, it's really important, and we have said it from experiences. We saw where was issues with some volunteers we hosted previously, and then we are clear on what are the red lines for now and for the future, so that it's easier for us to assess and to deal with those situations. And then as for future, like there are quite good resources available, and I've added these two links here with good practices and how to organize team volunteerings. And I think it's also good to network with experienced organizations and yeah, also ask support from contact points, because those that have experience can really support you in understanding how to do these kind of activities. And it's not something that it's not something that organizations should be worried about, but rather see how they can integrate into their work, because it can really bring a lot of meaningful actions to your local community. That's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free.